Hi there, Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. Today, I'm going to fill up my gouache palette. Now, I'm not going to fill it up like fill it up. I'm basically going to be putting my colors down, some of my colors in, just to kind of map it out. So that way, when I'm going to do some gouache painting, I can either just take the lid off my palette and start painting, or top off the colors and just keep putting the colors back in the same spot so that I minimize waste and I have paint ready to go when I am. Obviously, gouache is not going to dry down just like watercolor. It can pop out, and if you've ever filled up like a plastic palette with gouache before and then dropped it after it dried and you just got like paint confetti everywhere, you know the heartache of, wasting gouache like that. But I figure doing this kind of like a color wheel on this beautiful palette from Meeden, it would be a really nice way to kind of organize myself and yeah, have my colors just the way that I want them. So I'm going to put this out like this. So I have my primaries here. So these are my true primaries, and I'm just going to use Holbein. I'm not going to put a ton out. I'm just going to put a little bit kind of in the back, maybe like, I don't even know, not that much, just a little bit. And because I don't think the Holbein is going to pan as well as, say, like Da Vinci or whatnot, so I just don't want to have too much of that in there. If this was watercolor, I'd be filling it. I'd be just filling it right up. That's how, like, I'll show you my watercolor palettes, how I do them, because I see people that just put like a little dollop of paint down and then they have to refill it all the time, or they're like digging with a brush to get to their paint. I fill them up because it's easier on your brushes and it's more convenient because you don't have to keep refilling, and then you don't have paint drying up in the tube, because you can a lot of times empty a tube right in your palette. Obviously do what you want, but that's what I recommend. So these are our true primaries, and these colors do mix very well. I should probably use a tube burner on the bottom of these tubes. All right, so then I'm going to want to do maybe a little bit of a warmer red. This is a alizarin crimson, so it's not a warm red, but it's warmer than that, so I'm going to put that right next to there. This is Da Vinci. Now, Da Vinci pans excellently, so I can go ahead and put a good amount in there and not worry about it having a hard time re-wetting or popping out or anything. Let's see, and then I've got an ultramarine blue. That's more of a warm blue, so I'm going to put that on this side of my Holbein. And again, I know that the Da Vinci is going to re-wet well, so I can be kind of generous with that. Plus, look at the size of these tubes. That's what I love about Da Vinci. The tubes are so big. And then we've got a phthalo blue. That's a little bit cooler, so I'm going to put that over here a little closer to my yellow, where the greens would be. Again, I can be generous with that because it's going to reactivate really well. Then let's see, in Da Vinci I've got this yellow deep. That's more closer to orange or red, so I'm going to put that next to the orange here. I know these re-wet really well because I have them in my a little travel palette. Oh, I probably should have looked at what my, Daniel Smith yellow looked like, because that would go in there really well. Should take the ones that I've already put stuff in and put them away. Now I've got yellow ochre and I've got a raw sienna. I think I'm just going to put those right in there by Da Vinci. I know they're going to re-wet just fine. So which one should I put where? I wonder, let's just see. I'll put the browner one there, closer to the red. I mean, it doesn't really matter. Da Vinci has this kind of weird stringiness to it sometimes when you're squirting it out. And I'll put the yellow ochre right there because it seems a little bit more yellowy than browny. I would not put out that much paint if it wasn't Da Vinci, because that does re-wet so well. Okay, let's see. The other ones that pan really well are Daniel Smith, but I already have a ultramarine. I'll probably put a burnt umber and a burnt sienna somewhere. Let's see, Hansi, they've got a Hansi yellow medium. Oh, you know what? Oh, shoot. I should have put this one closer to there and have that one over one. Should I move it? Poor planning, Lindsay. I'm going to try to move it because, yeah, That would make more sense to have it right there because that is warmer. So let me find a silicone tool that I can scoop that up with, and I think I've got one right here. This is not what I wanted to do, but I'll move it over. Oh my gosh, what a mess. Luckily, this palette cleans really easily. This is the Meeden Color Wheel palette. You're all like, Lindsay, what are you doing? All right, you know what would be kind of fun? Let me find a page in a sketchbook that doesn't have anything on it. I like this one right here. And we can do some just trying to scrape up what I can because this squeegees pretty well. Ooh, maybe we'll make some more mistakes and we can have some more colors on this page. Alright, I need to get some water out though. I can't believe how easily I thought this was going to go so smoothly. I forgot to think about the Daniel Smith colors. Oh well. Not a biggie. Not a biggie at all. Let's see. I'm kind of curious about using this with a... That's an interesting color. It's so very translucent, yet it's a gouache, yet it's a warm color. Alright, sometimes you just gotta let it go, Lindsay. Sometimes you just need to let it go. Yeah, that is a pretty, that is a very warm color. I should have known better than to put that right there. But it's going to be fine. I'm going to clean it up with the paintbrush though. Are you setting up a palette while you're watching this? Sometimes I think it's kind of fun to do that. Put on a video, hang out while you're doing some puttery task. I like to listen to podcasts and stuff when I'm cleaning. I always think that's kind of fun. Alright, give it one last little wipe out here. Alright, okay. Hans Yellow Medium. That's probably plenty of that. It's very similar to the Da Vinci. I mean the Holbein. Alright, Pyrrole Red. Yes, let's do a Pyrrole Red because that is much warmer. I think I'll skip one. Right? I should probably skip one. Yeah, let's just skip one. I'm not gonna put a ton out, but put some in there. Let's see. I do have a green. I could do that one right in the middle of this, and I'm just putting ones in here that are like ones I know re-wet pretty well. I'm wondering what they're using Hans Yellow. It's probably the same exact color that, oh my, I don't know if I can get this open. I need to soak, there we go. Is that about the same color? I would say that's probably, oh, it might be a little bit cooler. Looks like it might be a smidgen cooler. Don't put too much out. I've got plenty on here. I might actually take this upstairs. I put bumpers on the bottom of this glass palette, this is ceramic palette, and I have a glass desk upstairs in my office. I might take this upstairs, actually. Oh, and I have an orange. This is cadmium orange. So I would just need to be careful not to spray apply this, but I don't think I'll be wetting stuff to spray apply from this palette. Just gonna put a little bit there. I'll probably make a little key as well, just so I know what's in here. Oh, and look at this. What is this? I got burnt sienna from Da Vinci, and I got burnt sienna from M. Graham, and I have burnt sienna from, I've got burnt umber from Daniel Smith. I have cobalt blue. I don't know if I'll put any of that out. That looks pretty close to what the cyan there. I don't know. Is that a real cobalt? Yep, it is a real cobalt. Like that's one of the situations I could have had it right next. Oh, actually, no, it looks warmer. It looks warmer to me than the cyan. Is it as warm as the ultramarine? I would have to move the ultramarine over. I could do that. We've done it before, right? We've done it before. Why not? Why not? Let's get it just the way we want with the colors that actually pan. Oh my gosh. How much of a mess can I make? Actually, that went a lot better than the previous. Oh, look, we can do some mixing. You can see. Those are both Da Vinci colors, so they should mix pretty well. Pretty sap green there. Trying to get a little bit more like creative in my sketchbooks, not be so like, oh, it needs to be a finished page or it needs to be Instagrammable. Trying to get over that a little bit. And I think sometimes just like making a mess on a page to get started can be helpful, you know? Okay, cobalt's going in there. God, I hope I can remember what all these are. Well, I guess I can watch back on the video. Ah, there's another good reason to do a video. I can watch it back. Yay for low effort content here on the channel. Alright, I think that's clean enough. The color's pretty darn close. Alright. It's not like I'm using an airbrush or anything. I'm like, oh, what if I want to spray apply? It's like, when's the last time I spray applied anything? Okay. Yeah, that works out good. What's the red I have here? Pyrrole red. That's the same as what I had from... Did I already squeeze that out? That's the same as I have with... Yeah, that's the same that I have with Daniel Smith. Is it the same pigment? Oh, goodness gracious. Where are my glasses? I can't read that. I left them upstairs. I got my progressives, but I don't know if I'll be able to read that with my progressives. I was upside down for one thing. PR254, PR209. What's this one? That's PR254. Yeah, you know what? We'll just do that. I don't need both of them in there. I don't need a lot of these in there, to be honest. Okay, but I do want some browns. I kind of think I would just want to finish up this. I wonder how different these two burnt siennas are. That's nice and rich and red and chocolatey looking, so pretty. This one is a little bit, gosh, they're, that one's maybe a little bit browner. I'll put that over here. I think I'm kind of thinking of just emptying this out because where I'm so close to the end of this tube, I don't want to like have it go hard in there. I'd rather just put it on a palette where it can be useful. Now some of you might be cringing, oh my gosh, why are you squeezing all that paint out? Well, you know, for one thing, I've never had a mold issue with my paints here. And I know that some people have mold issues. I'm going to get a toothpick and get the rest of that out with their gouache, but I've never had an issue. And I have well water, so I would think that if I was ever going to have an issue, I would have it. This is also a studio palette, so it's not going to be like contaminated with potential like pond water or being left in a humid bag in my car or anything. So I am confident that this paint will be fine, especially if I'm using it frequently. And yeah, I don't want like a little drab of paint, because this is an old tube. I don't want like a drab of paint to be drying in there. I think I'm going to try using the tube bringer on that too, because I'm such a cheapskate. I got to get every little glass drop out. This, I recommend these metal ones. I got this on Amazon for like $6. They're much more expensive from like art supply stores, but this one I think came, like, it was sold as a toothpaste ringer for one, which made it cheaper because it wasn't sold as an art supply. But I think I had to wait for it. I think it came from like direct from China or something. But the quality is good. And yeah, there's probably a little, I could cut the tube open and get last little dregs out, but it's a metal tube. I don't want to cut myself, so I'm going to call that done. Yeah, I probably don't need to be putting this much in there, but is that one, I was trying to decide if that's different enough to, that's really about the same. I'm just going to do a little dab of that. It's probably kind of redundant, to be honest, but it's fun. Okay, then let's do burnt umber over here with the blues. Not a ton, just a little bit. You can see that's a little bit darker. And I guess I'll put titanium white over here. And I think I'll just put some Da Vinci in there. And I think I will use my tube bringer because I like to have, I like to get air out of the tubes as much as possible. And also, the Da Vinci ones are better because they have bigger, they have a bigger spout there, so filling a bigger palette like this is a little bit easier with those. I wonder if I want to take a Q-tip, one of these guys and kind of spread that around a little bit. I think I'll put a little bit more in there. This does roulette fairly well, because I have it in my travel palette, so I know it does. And I do tend to use it up quite a bit, so. And that also having a little bit more in will keep it from drying up as quickly. I think you can get the white in a larger tube as well from Da Vinci. And you don't want to, you know, squeeze that air right out of there. All right, do I want to have a black? But probably should. I don't typically use black, so what would be my most rewettable black? I'm just wondering what might reactivate a little bit easier. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't dried down. I just use Winsor Newton off my palette. I don't know. I guess maybe I'll just do a little bit of Holbein because I have that one open already. Did I have it an M gram? I don't think I have an M gram black. No, I don't have black and M gram. So I'll just do a little bit of Holbein, but I think I'll put it over here by the burnt umber because, and just put a little bit in the corner there because I don't really want anything near the white that's going to turn it gross. And yeah, I mean, if I wanted to put purples in there, I could, but my purples are not Lightfast that I have, so I'd rather not. And that's what I'm going to have in my palette. So I hope you found this useful. I'll probably make a little chart for this, and put it in the middle or something, just so I know what's what, and just label it so I know the cadmiums and the cobalt, so I don't spray apply anything I shouldn't. But yeah, and then as I'm painting, if I need to put a color out, I'll put just a little dab kind of where it would fall, and then I wouldn't wash my palette out. I would just, next time I'm going to use it, I would just use it and use it up. And that way I'll have all this mixing area in the middle. I can limit how much paint I have to put out. And yeah, this should work out pretty well. Maybe I'll consider buying a purple, but I know that those are going to mix a really good purple anyway, like especially that and that. So actually I decided I would make a chart, and I have these stencils, they're color wheel stencils that, that I used to just draw this color wheel here. And yeah, so as I was doing this, I realized that probably they intended the primary colors to be in these ones here that I have the secondary colors in, but whatever, I'm not moving this paint. But FYI, in case you are thinking of this palette and doing the same thing, then I just want to mention it. I'm just using watercolor paper, and I'm doing my best to make it nice and neat. I don't know, are you interested in this? I went through off camera and wrote down all the pigments. So this is a very Lightfast, arrangement of colors. So I'm thinking that's going to be really nice. It's going to be nice because then I'm not going to have to worry about what's in this palette. I like the M. Graham burnt sienna more than the Da Vinci burnt sienna, just swatching it out here. But that's because the Da Vinci is more translucent. And I'm sure I'll see some shiny spots on the swatch from the Da Vinci. But the thing I noticed with the Da Vinci is that in practice, it paints really well. In swatching is where you see the flaws. Oftentimes it's the opposite. The swatches look good, and then in practice it falls apart, especially with the budget paints. I've got a dirty water thing off camera that I'm using to clean my brush. Ooh, this is gonna be hard not to get this in my hands. I think I might actually fade this out with some water. Let's see, I'm going to go in with the Holbein Primary Magenta. Plus it'll help me spread the paint in the wells a little bit. So I just drew a little triangle there to show that it was a primary color. Kind of like, well, it's got a little pokey, it's got a little triangle coming out, and I guess that's what I was thinking. Oh, this pokiest thing is probably where the primary should go. It doesn't really matter because they're equidistant around, but I think I goofed there. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all in the working of it. I'm just kind of annoyed with myself. What's new? What's new? I should zoom in a little bit more. You can see my swatch a little bit better. There we go. Studio sesh, baby. It's studio sesh time. I like fading things out with water sometimes, even though it's not what you do with gouache, typically. Although I do like to start with watery layers, so. Sometimes I like to do these puttery things, especially when I've been kind of like, I don't know, feeling kind of in between projects or whatnot. I'm going to go to Pyrrole Red next. This is Daniel Smith. I also have this color, very similar color, in M. Graham. The mix is a little, the M. Graham I think is a 2-color mix. But I'm like, I really don't need 2 of those. Don't need 2 of the browns either, but I just know I'm going to use. I just know I'll use both of them. Actually dried down, boy, they look about the same. I didn't need both of those out there, but I wanted to use up the, I wanted to get the M-gram out because I was afraid there wasn't much left, and I was afraid it was going to dry in the tube. But next time you see this palette, it should be crusty and beautiful because I will actually have used it. Let's skip over the orange right now so that can dry, and we'll go over to the Da Vinci Yellow Deep. I thinned that out quite a bit when I was, because this is the one we had to move. Yeah, moving 2 of these colors was plenty. I'm not doing that anymore. The Da Vinci's watercolor out really nicely. Okay, I'm going to skip the next one, go over to the primary, the Holbein primary yellow. Beautiful, kind of lemony, almost lemony, not quite as lemony as the Hansi yellow from Daniel Smith, but pretty darn good, pretty darn close. I like these are all nice strong colors. I might actually take this and put it upstairs in my, I bet I could get this one in there too, in my office. Honestly, it'd be funny, well, it wouldn't be funny, it'd be terrifying, but if I was ever audited by the IRS, and they look at my home office deduction, they'd probably like, actually, we owe you money because you use like half of your house for a studio. See, these two are so very close. And the Holbein is a mix with PY3 and PY74, and the M-gram is just PY3. Oh yeah, that one's Daniel Smith there. I should put that one in. Yeah, actually, gouache doesn't flow as much, so I could do that one. I'm gonna add a little water in there off my brush there. It's maybe kind of ridiculous to have all these colors in, but I want to use them. I'm hoping this will get me using them a little bit more. Very useful colors, though. Now we got the Permanent Green Light from M-gram. I'll only put this one in there because it does pan so well, but honestly, I don't know. I guess I probably will use it because I can add a little, I can shift it with some other colors. I mean, I put it in here, I'm going to use it. This is a color I never buy on purpose. It either comes in a set or something where I can't really avoid it. I like Permanent Green Light in watercolor because it can be very fresh. Actually, but you know, nowadays, I used to use it quite a bit, but now I don't use it very much. This actually looks almost like a Permanent Green Medium more than a Permanent Green Light. Okay, next color is Da Vinci Phthalo Blue. Haven't used this one too much because it's not in my, I didn't have space for it in my little travel palette. It's extremely intense. I was debating between buying this and a Prussian. I like Prussian blue. It reminds me of teaching watercolor because I learned with more of a traditional palette. And so I taught with more of a traditional palette. I wasn't really using the phthalo colors for quite a while. I mean, this is watered down, it's still so vibrant, but the Da Vinci, this will need to be mixed down with other things because it's so shiny in the Da Vinci line. That's why you can't trust your swatches. You know, that's why your review needs to be more than just swatching a product. Oh, isn't that gorgeous? It just be, their gouache behaves more like watercolor. Oh my gosh, I gotta show you my rinse water. My rinse water is like almost black. we got some primaries there, that's why. I'm gonna skip over the next one. Then we'll go to, this is what Graham calls their primary blue. They use cobalt blue as a primary, which I think it's a little too warm. I think it's funny when I see a true PB28 cobalt blue, to me that looks more warm. But then I see like cobalt blue hues and they've used like PB15. A lot of times it's ultramarine blue plus white. But sometimes you'll see ultramarine blue and like a phthalo blue and white mixed together to make a cobalt blue. I don't like that, because I don't think it looks like a cobalt blue. I find cobalt blue to be a little bit on the warm side. I guess it could depend on how they treat the pigment, but generally, oops, I think I just dipped in the wrong color. Generally, I find it to be a little bit warmer. So I put these how I see the undertones on my palette. I think I added a little bit too much water in there. Oh well, that's fine. It's just a color swatch. It's not live or die. Alright, I'm going to go back up and start filling in around the other colors I skipped. We'll do this one last because that's kind of where I'm holding the paper. We'll do the, I love this. I love a permanent alizarin crimson. It's a little bit fresher than a traditional alizarin crimson. It's less bloody looking, and it won't fade as easily. I mean, anything can fade, let's be honest, depends on how you treat it. The Lightfast ratings go for museum conditions, not for like, you know, being a schmuck and, you know, hanging your painting like in day-long Arizona sun. You know, that's not what it's kind of. It's kind of museum conditions. Museums are not bright. Museums are usually kind of dark. And then next we will have the cadmium orange, which I drew a little exclamation point on that and the cobalt blue just so I would know. I don't think I would spray apply these, but just in case, I just want to make sure I don't. So if you live somewhere, of course I did that, and this is gouache, so it's going to cover up the exclamation point. If you live somewhere where you are prone, you've very humid weather, maybe your paint water is not pristine, and you have tendency to get mold in your palettes, and I wouldn't do this because that's a lot of paint going to waste if you couldn't use it because it got moldy. That would just really stink. So, yeah, it would stink probably in more ways than one. So I wouldn't do that in that case, but I've never had an issue. The only time I ever had an issue with mold, and I think it's because I got some river water in my palette, was with some Yarka watercolors, and they were like a set of 16 full pans, and for some reason my earth tones got kind of moldy. But I think it was because I'd been doing a lot of plein air out at the river, kind of Penobscot River rather, or Kenduskeag Stream, one or the other, I can't remember. But I'd been doing a lot of plein air that summer, and I think I got some pond water in there because sometimes I would just I would fill my water buckets with the river water. But it was only on those colors. It wasn't on other colors in the palette, so I don't know. Maybe there was some contaminant in the paint itself. I don't know. I'm actually looking forward to how crusty and used this palette looks. So you can see that Da Vinci paint does kind of paint out a little bit sticky when you're using it straight. So, you know, it acts so much like a watercolor, like a artist grade watercolor. And it's quite similar to their watercolors, so maybe their formula isn't that different. I did swatch them out next to the watercolors I had of those same colors. They're definitely not the same. The watercolors are better watercolors. They're more translucent. They have a little bit more personality to them. Like these get pretty flat in a wash. Like when you add water to them and you wash them out, they're very flat looking rather than luminous like their watercolors are. But you definitely can do those first layers. And, you know, if you like to do watercolor and gouache over it, you could definitely do those first layers with the gouache and not miss a beat. You know, there wouldn't be an advantage to bringing a set of watercolors and these if that's, you know, if that's how you typically work with watercolor drip painting and gouache on top. You'd be fine just with their gouache. All right, now let's do the Holbein cyan. Whoops, I got a little too much on there. I like a big palette too. I probably thin that down a little too much. But I do want to water it down as I go because I like to do that technique. So these, I don't know if I'll see if I could still, if these stencils are still available. Oh my gosh, it's the first time I've used them too. I bought them a while back. I had all these plans, what I was gonna do with these stencils. And then I could not find them. The first place I looked actually is where they were, but I kind of skipped over them. They were in my stencil bin. Like even this Holbein one, it doesn't look like it's very opaque. It looks kind of thin right from the tube, even before I added water to it. But man, they just mix so well. But yeah, I went back and then I found them in the exact same first place I looked. I just didn't look good, well enough. But it's like a set of stencils. I'll show you in a second. Let's get this Da Vinci Ultramarine Blue put in there. Yeah, I mean, if I had that any of these Da Vinci gouache in a watercolor palette, I would not know. I would not think that these are not watercolors. With the Daniel Smith, they pan really good, but you could still tell they're gouache. They have that matte, I don't know, just a different like surface texture to the pans and everything. All right. Now we're going to do burnt umber, black, and white. And I'll do the white. I just want to kind of get, I put I just put some Sharpie there to show. Actually, I don't even know if I've put it there thickly enough. I don't want to do too thick with that because it will get shiny. Yeah, maybe I should have chose a different white, but I can always put some Daniel Smith white in the other one, or bleed proof white, or whatever. Let's do the brown, the burnt umber, because we have burnt sienna over there. Like, I mean, like those two are very similar. This is probably silly, honestly, but this is what I want to do. It's my palette, I can do what I want to do. Go ahead with your own life and leave me alone. That was like my favorite Billy Joel song growing up. It also was a theme song to the hit show Bosom Buddies with Tom Hanks. I loved that show so much as a kid. If you're not aware, Shell probably would not, well, like most sitcoms from the 80s, it would probably not be politically correct today, but I just love that show. Tom Hanks and the guy that was on Newhart that played, oh shoot, Stephanie's boyfriend, I can't remember what his name was, but Rip something maybe? I don't know, it was a great cast. Thelma Hopkins was on that show. Everybody was so good on that show. Oh my gosh, and the woman, I think she was a landlord. I think she was on 2.5 Men too. She's been on a lot of comedy shows. She's really funny. She always plays kind of like an uptight, mean lady. Actually, I don't know if she was on that show or not. I can't remember if she was landlord or one of their bosses. Like, I don't remember. I remember liking the show though. I remember my dad hating the show. What a stupid show. And you can find reruns of it, but they had to change the song. They can't use the Billy Joel song anymore. Luckily, my singing's so bad I will not get copyright struck for it because they'll never recognize it. All right, let me go grab those stencils. I'll show you. Oh shoot! Last one I washed my brush in the wrong water. This is the stencils. These are the stencils. This all of them. I use the 12 stencil here. This one here with the 12 pie slices. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, this one has 12, and then I just drew a line down the middle so I could break that up. So if I do decide to add permanent colors to it, I can. But like I mentioned before, my plan is to, as I'm working, if I'm using a color that's not on here, I'll just put a little dab into the, look at my messy desk. I'll just put a little dab where it would fall in there, and then if I use it up, great. If I don't, well, it's there for the next time I need it. So this is hopefully going to minimize waste. I'm just going to give this a little spritz. Might as well before I put it away. Oh my, gotta be careful on that. You can see where I've dragged paint out to the center. It's not, this is the cleanest probably ever going to be. But yeah, so if you're doing this, I think your primaries are supposed to be in the ones that have the big, it doesn't matter. They're all equally arranged, but yeah, that would have made sense. But you live and learn. And yeah, I got my nice little thing with pigment information there to see what I have, and I'm pretty happy with it. I hope you enjoyed this, and thanks for watching. Until next time, happy crafting. Bye. Actually, I thought, you know, since I've got the palette out, I might as well do some little mixing little examples, and we can see what we can do with our little palette here. So let's say I want to make a really earthy, nice green. Let's see, let's move this like this. Let's scoot this over here. Yeah, let's do that. So let's say I want to do a nice earthy, ooh, kind of see how that's kind of sticky for some reason. Take some of that yellow deep. And take some of the, let's do this, let's do the primary cyan. Oh, that's pretty. Isn't that lovely? Very nice. Now let's say I want to do, you know, lighten that up a little bit. Get a little hand seal light. Isn't that pretty? Let's say I want to make it a little bit earthier. Take a little orange. Need a little bit more than that, maybe not. I'm adding too much water, but I'm just playing. You know what, I think I got too much of the water in the orange. There. Ooh, that's way too much, but let's see what happens. Okay, let's take a little bit of the green there that I said that I don't typically use very much. Making kind of an olivey color. Let's take some of the phthalo blue. Ooh, that's a pretty green. That's a really dark forest green. Let's take some of the primary magenta, and let's take some of the ultramarine blue. See what kind of purple that gives us. Ooh, that's a vibrant purple. And it's a Lightfast purple, which is nice. Let's take a little bit of, let's take a little bit more, actually let's take a little crimson. More of a maroon color. Let's take a little bit of the cobalt. Well, that's pretty. Let's take a little white. Put a few little dabs of white out there so I don't have to keep dipping. Let's do another purple with the magenta, and this time the phthalo blue. That's nice. Like a hydrangea blue here. Kind of a gray blue. Let's make a nice bright orange. Let's take the yellow deep. And some of the pyrrole red. Ooh, that's really strong. Let's get some more of that yellow in there. Let's add a little bit of white. Let's add a little bit of yellow ochre. Let's add a little bit more yellow ochre. Let's do a little bit of ultramarine blue. Let's do a little bit of white too. Get over to the edge. Let's do a little bit of ultramarine blue. A little bit more than that. And a little crimson, make some skin tones. That's a pretty color. Not really a skin tone, but still pretty color. Some of that yellow in there. More white. Obviously this is a lighter skin tone. But see how it just kind of encourages you to play when you've got all this paint out? And really that's something I want to... That's very fair, very light. Portrait pink, kind of. And then if we wanted to do something a little bit more dark, we could grab in the burnt sienna or burnt umber. Burnt sienna is going to have a little bit more red to it. But I still tend to use the other colors, and if you want to darken it, you can add a little bit of ultramarine blue because that negates the orange. You can add a little bit of more crimson to it if you want to get a rosier tone. We can do the blue and the red to get more of purpley undertones. Oh, this is fun. Somebody's probably like, oh, you're just making mud, Lindsay. Well, kind of. But still, it's fun. It's fun to see what you can mix. It's fun to play with color and yeah, see what the possibilities are with your paint, because paint, you know, the only paint that's wasted is the paint that stays in the tube. So you might as well, let's see about mixing into some of those colors. You might as well play, right? You might as well play and see what you can do. I want to make a more vibrant purple, but I think I don't think I used enough of the magenta compared to the blue. That's quite red though. Ooh, that one's nice. Yeah, I think I'm going to be able to get any color I want in this palette, from this palette. I'm going to make a nice bright green and then neutralize it. I mean, you could save, like, I don't have to wash this palette off and I can come back and use these colors if I wanted to. I'll take a little bit of the phthalo. And then I could add any sort of red tone or brown tone to it to neutralize it. I'm adding more water than I typically would if I was doing a gouache painting. Just because I'm playing with color here, that's really all I'm aiming to do. Oh, that's a nice one. Yeah, fun stuff to play with, and I hope you found that, I don't know, long studio sesh interesting. I have an addendum to this palette. I'm going to move the M Graham permanent green, I think it's the permanent green light, over here because I want to add in a Viridian. I just ordered it. I thought I had some colors from like other sets I had to maybe fill in some other colors. After I've been using this for a couple of weeks, by the way, and I was gonna leave the video the way it was, but then I realized that I wanted to add a couple things, and then I thought, well, I might as well film it and show what I ended up doing, because I also wanted to tell you a little addition I added to these colors so they wouldn't dry out like all the way so quickly. I added some blending medium, and that is just the Winsor & Newton blending medium. Just a couple drops to each. I wouldn't do more than that, actually. I put a little too much in, to be honest, and I mean, it was fine, but it just was a little too juicy. But it did allow the paints to spread out really well. And it did keep them semi-moist, which is what I wanted. I wanted just to be able to take the lid off and have nice, fresh, usable gouache. So that worked out great. So we're going to do, I'm going to put in, this is Talon's gouache. I've never used Talon's gouache before, but I wanted a PG7 single pigment color, and this is 20 milliliters, and it was like $7.50 at Blick, so that was a great deal. And then I've got this cobalt teal blue, and I think I'm going to put that one right there. I'm going to have to scrub back on my swatch chart and fix it, but that's not that big of a deal. But I got the cobalt teal because I really like that color, and I thought I had something in another palette, but they were all hues, and I wasn't that in love with the tone or the pigments that they were using. And I want this to all be Lightfast color. And then I've got a dioxazine violet, and this was hard to find, but I did find it in Talon, so I'm hoping I like the Talon's brand. But I wanted a PV23. I couldn't find a PV23 that was just PV23, and all the purples I had were like PV 1, 3, or 14, and the one that was 14 actually faded in my Lightfast test, so this is what I wanted. This is actually a mix of PV23 and PV19, but those are both good solid colors, good solid pigments. So I'm going to put it right here in the secondary part of the palette, and yeah, I think that's going to really round this palette out nicely. I am going to add just a little bit, a drop or two of blending medium in each of those colors so they don't dry out on me. I have a little pipette handy for that, I think, right here. But not a lot, just maybe like 2 drops. Because, I mean, I live in Maine and I work in a basement, so we don't get a ton of moisture here. And I'll stir that in so it kind of goes in there. I'm going to scrub that out. Yeah, well, I'm going to want to scrub this out, and yeah, we'll swatch them out, we'll see how they look, and then that will be it for the gouache Mother Gouache palette. And I've been using it. I don't know if I've had that in videos or not. I think I have. I know I used it on the Monhegan Sentinel painting, and I've used it in some other paintings, so I'm liking it a lot. And maybe I'll fill in other colors as we go, but I think they're probably going to be more temporary uses if I add in other colors. But I think these are just going to be the ride or dies that are in everyone. This is just a extra pan I had of the phthalo blue. I might try to scrape it out and put it in there, but I had panned it, but I couldn't fit it in my little travel mini gouache palette, so I just stuck it in there so I wouldn't lose it. But I'll be right back. All right, I'm just going to stir the blending medium into these colors, plus I can get it to fill the pan a little bit better. I think for now on, well, I wanted to review a bunch of mixing sets, so that's why I went with mixing sets, and they all had good colors in them. But I think from now on, I'll just be buying tubes as I either feel like I need them, or just to replace the ones as I use them up, which I know is going to be a tall order because doing the gouache reviews and the artist gouache kind of showdown, I ended up getting a lot of gouache, buying a lot of gouache, and I want to use that up before I get too crazy about it. There's a lot of great gouaches out there. That was basically my takeaway from the series that I did, and yeah, I'm happy to use these. So let's see. The purple is going to be there. I think I'll just go ahead and try to clean that off clean what I can off of my. Oh, that's a pretty color. I know this is not going to be as pristine as it was since I had to scrub out that other color, but we'll get a good idea of it anyway. Spread that out a bit. I'm sure this will be a little bit on the translucent side, and actually a lot of the artist gouaches are gouaches, and I think part of that is because they're prioritizing pigments that have longevity over ones that are just merely opaque. The designer gouaches will have a lot more opacity and beautiful working properties, but they are going more for reproduction than actual light fastness. So that's really what I wanted to get at with this palette, was to get that kind of that sweet spot. Like, what's going to work for me? What's going to give me the best the best option as far as, yep, this one's going here. This is a cobalt teal. Oh, isn't that gorgeous? Daniel Smith is doing a beautiful job with her gouache. I might want to do a little more blending medium, but I'm going to see how that goes because I put way too much in some of the other ones and it got a little thinned out, so I don't want that to happen. This is just a, you know, and honestly I don't really need a swatch because the thing with gouache is it's an opaque color, so it pretty much what you see is what you get. Now I move the M Graham over to here, and that was M Graham Permanent Green Light, and the color's pretty, and I kind of wanted to get it out because it is a Lightfast color, but also because I've had those tubes for a while. I don't know how long they're going to last before they dry up. I mean, I had them for a long time and they've done really well in the tube, but you know, I want to use my stuff. And granted, I did buy 3 new colors for this palette, so take it with a grain of salt. Take anything I say with a grain of salt, basically, because I'm all talk and no action. Try to be a little more action, a little less talk, but this is fun. This is fun. And then Viridian is what we're going there is my true secondary. And that's the other thing. Yes, I could mix the green with the blue and the yellow, absolutely. And that's a great option. And that's what I did do until I picked up this color. And I probably, and I'm not going to use the Viridian just as it is. I'll be mixing it in with other colors. But when you start with a single pigment color, you're going to have more vibrant mixes. So rather than mixing your colors on the color wheel to get that secondary color, which you definitely should learn how to do, this is going to give you a more vibrant color if you have a single pigment color to start with, rather than mixing 2, then you have a mixed pigment color. But obviously, you don't need the secondary colors if you have a good split primary color palette. But man, I have all these spaces, and this is a very useful color for me for mixing a beautiful, like if I want to do a sap green, let me show you this. If I take that and then I add some, like, I could add orange, I could add yellow ochre to it. That should give me a really, either of those should give me a nice sap green. I'm going to add this yellow ochre to it. Beautiful olivey sap green. And if I decide I want it more blue, if I want it to have a little bit more, more punch, I could go in with the phthalo blue. Oh, that's a little bit too much, but if I want warmer but still vibrant, I could add in. So yeah, as you add more colors, you do usually decrease the saturation, but it just gives you this perfect way to completely tweak your color so you can get exactly what you want. And that's what I want to do with this palette. And do you need this many colors? No, you don't. But like I said, I wanted a nice Lightfast gouache color. That's what I'd want to get for a sap green. I really like that color, and I can tweak it exactly the way I want it. So yeah, I'm not sure if how like the Royal Talons. I'll keep you updated on that. I hope I really like it. But yeah, we'll see. Let's see. How close is that to the permanent green? I think this is a little bit more blue than, yeah, it's just different than the color I mixed. I wanted a little earthier, and I got a little earthier. So yeah, I mean, it's getting the options that you want. That's the important thing. Your palette might not look exactly the same as mine because you have different preferences, and that's totally fine. So, yeah, I usually will just put that in a sketchbook, but I just wanted to clean it so I could... My studio is a chaos right now, so I just want to clean and get everything set back to normal. But there it is. There's the gouache palette. This is the blending medium. I'll put a link to that in case you're curious about it. It's cheaper on Blick than Amazon, unless Amazon's having a really great deal. And generally, if you're going to pick your own tubes of paint, you're going to do much better if you buy them at an art store rather than Amazon. Because Amazon sellers, if they're just selling a tube of paint, they have to add so many fees onto that. because Amazon charges so many fees to small sellers. So you're usually better off going to Blick Art Materials or Jerry's Artorama or Cheap Joe's or Mary Artist or whatever your favorite online or in-person seller is to buy your tube paint. In-person ones are usually more expensive, but I tend to order from Blick or Jerry's or Mary Artist the most because their prices are usually the best. I like Cheap Joe's too. They're all great stores. Go wherever it's more convenient for you. But if you're buying tubes and you're making your own set, you're going to do way better buying from them. And then you can try different brands. Like I have Royal Talons, Daniel Smith, M. Graham, Holbein, Da Vinci, Dan Smith, Talons, M. Graham. You know, I mean, I have a variety of colors in here for different reasons because they had the pigment I wanted for that particular shade. And you can be picky and get exactly what you want, and it's probably going to be different from me, and that's fine. Or go with whatever professional paint is most affordable in your area. You know, you don't need to get Daniel Smith because it's Daniel Smith. If you live in a country where Daniel Smith is very expensive, it's kind of expensive here too. You know, go with your local brand that's going to give you the color and the pigment that you want. And have fun. Have fun. That's the most important thing. Enjoy your supplies. You paid good money for them. Use them. The only wasted paint is the stuff that stays in the tube. So I hope you have a great day and you play with your art supplies. And until next time, happy crafting. Bye.